Your machine may look fine from the outside, but inside it might be slowly dying from mistakes that are actually really easy to avoid once you know what they are. I'm gonna walk you through the 8 most common mistakes that we see, show you what's going on and how to avoid them. My name is Lisa. I'm a sewer and quilter turned sewing machine repair entrepreneur, and I'm here servicing sewing machines in my home workshop basement in Farmington Hills, Michigan. Now, before I got my repair training with Sewing Doc Academy, I was honestly doing almost every one of these things wrong, and I had no idea. So if you're making any of these common mistakes, just know you're in good company and consider this the heads up that I wish somebody had given me. I also have a free printable checklist that walks you through how to properly clean and maintain your sewing machine at home. I'll be sure to leave that link in the description of this video. One of the most common mistakes people make is using the wrong oil. And using the wrong kind of oil can actually have the opposite effect of what you're trying to accomplish. A lot of these oils can get extremely sticky over time, and they gum up and attract lint and residue, which is actually slowing down your machine instead of keeping things moving. So throw away any oil that is slightly discolored or starting to yellow. If you see yellow, that means impurities are in it, and that is what breaks down and gets gummy, and we just don't want it in our sewing machines. And please do not use things like 3-in-1 oil or WD-40. These options are actually doing more harm than good. All right, so what do we want to actually use? We really want to use a pure sewing machine oil. It's usually going to be labeled something like Lily White, which means it is clean and pure and doesn't have any additives in it. This one was recommended to me, and I really like it. It is the Zoom Spout Premium Sewing Machine Oil. And you'll see on the back, it says Lily White lubricant. And this one I like because it has a nice long telescoping spout on it, thus the name Zoom Spout. But if you're just doing at-home maintenance, you really aren't necessarily going to need one with the long telescoping spout, because there's only one spot I need you to oil. We'll get back to that. You'll also see me using this one. This is Blue Creeper Sewing Machine Oil. This is not a Lily White oil. It is a blue product, thus the name Blue Creeper. But this has some special penetrating oils that do a really good job of freeing up seized parts. So I use that one in my shop. The Zoom Spout is great, but really any pure sewing machine oil that is meant for sewing machines is what we're looking for. All right, mistake number 2. Some of you may not want to hear this one, but please do not use canned air in your sewing machine. I mean, believe me, I get the appeal. You get the nice little sprayed nozzle and you shoot it and the lint goes fine and your bobbin area looks clean and you think, I've done a great job just cleaning the sewing machine, right? But what's actually happening is not all of that lint is escaping the machine. A lot of it is actually getting pushed deeper into your gears, your belts, and your computer boards. And canned air actually has moisture in it, which is the last thing we want around those delicate electronics and boards. So when that lint gets pushed in there and it gets compacted deeper into the machine over time, what it can do is it can build up enough to actually seize up the machine, or it can trap heat, which can build up and actually cause some of those electronics and sensors to fail faster than they would have normally. Okay, so what are we going to use instead of canned air? Well, I have a pack of pipe cleaners, which are really great. I also always have on my workbench here my little cup full of Q-tips, and I also really like these disposable mascara wands. Of course, use something clean. Don't go in there with a dirty mascara wand. That wouldn't be good. But a vacuum with the little micro attachments work well. I've also heard people suggest using a soft paintbrush or a makeup brush. Really anything that lets you get in there and pull the lint out is what we want. Okay, mistake number 3. I know we're all guilty of this one, not changing your needle. So this might be the cheapest and most impactful fix you can make to your sewing right now, and most of us are guilty of skipping it. But needles get dull with use, and a bent or damaged needle can actually mimic timing issues. So we're talking skip stitches, threads nesting, breaking threads, all these things that can kind of send you down a troubleshooting rabbit hole, and things can get expensive when really the fix can cost less than $1. When something goes wrong, the first step is to put in a fresh needle before we assume anything else is wrong. But beyond just the stitching issues, a bent needle can actually like hit the hook or the bobbin case as it's running, and that can severely damage those parts. And it's not always a cheap or quick fix. It can actually cause our timing to get out of alignment, which can be an expensive repair. As far as how often to change it, the general rule is about every 8 to 10 hours of sewing time, which I know I have a really hard time tracking. One tip I heard that I think I'm actually going to try myself is people say that they change the needle after using 3 full bobbins. So once you go through 3 bobbins, you know it's probably time to swap your needle. And if you're actually hearing like a thunk, thunk, thunk as the needle is piercing the fabric, yeah, that's the sign of a dull needle. You need to change it. So either way, just change your needle like today. Probably good advice. Just change it today. Okay. Mistake number 4 is over oiling your sewing machine. So most modern machines actually have metals that are built with lubricant already in them. And when you add oil to the wrong places, it can actually cause the lubricant that's supposed to be there to leach out, which is going to create a bigger problem than the one you were trying to solve in the first place. So for most machines, and this is assuming that you're getting regular professional service, you actually only need to apply a drop of oil in one spot on your sewing machine. When you are doing your maintenance at home, you really only need 1 drop of oil on the wick in the center of your hook assembly. That's if you have one there. And then you can also apply 1 drop on the bobbin case where it rides along the hook race. That's for a top loading machine. Now, if you have a vertical or a side loading bobbin, we're just going to apply 1 drop of oil at the back of the hook where it rides along the hook race. And after you apply that oil and get your bobbin case and your hook all reinstalled, go ahead and run the hand wheel a few times, test on a scrap of fabric. This is going to clear out any excess oil before it touches your project. You definitely don't want to transfer any of that oil onto your fabric. So just run a few lines through a test scrap to be sure. And if you're wondering about all the other oiling points, maybe in the needle bar area, or maybe you have a vintage machine that has like little spots where it says you can apply oil. Well, the reason I really only recommend that 1 drop is that when your machine is going in for professional service every 1 to 2 years, all of those other points are going to be lubricated at that time. So between service appointments, that 1 drop to the hook race is really all you're going to need. Adding too much oil is actually going to start attracting more lint, which again is going to work against you. Of course, check your oil machines, use your manual, and be sure to follow the guidance there. All right, stick with me because these next few can seriously damage your machine. Mistake number 5, yanking or prying stuck threads. All right, so this is something that can happen to the best of us. So I want you to look at everything that is moving in this needle bar area. We've got the take-up lever, lots of joints, the needle bar itself, and as you rotate the hand wheel, all of these parts are moving and interacting with each other. And what can happen is that a thread may catch on one of these joints, and then as you keep sewing, that thread catches and loops, and the next thing you know, you've got a whole nest of threads wrapped up into these delicate joints. And the problem is these threads are a lot stronger than they seem, and these joints are machined together. And if you try to just yank the thread, you run the risk of popping a joint off of its shaft. And that's not something that's just gonna like snap back into place. It's a significant repair. And even if you don't fully like break it and it doesn't come off, you still may be doing enough damage to knock the needle bar out of alignment, which can cause things like timing problems. And you're going to start seeing things like skip stitches or not stitching at all. It's genuinely a serious problem. And on a lot of, budget models, off-the-shelf models, a lot of these joints are going to be made out of plastic and even more brittle. So again, be very careful. If you do want to try to address this yourself, the recommendation here is to soak all of that thread very generously with sewing machine oil first. And then you're gonna let that oil penetrate, which is gonna loosen up the thread fibers, and it's gonna make it a lot easier to work free. You can use a pair of tweezers or picks. Got my tweezers and my picks right here. Tools of the trade. What we definitely should not be doing is trying to disassemble anything in the needle bar area or reaching for something to like pry with. If it's really jammed in there, it's a job for a technician. Just bring it in. You don't want to run the risk of damaging that needle bar area. All right, now I am absolutely all for people learning how to service their own sewing machines, but please do not try to remove the plastic covers of your sewing machine without proper training. Not only can you run the risk of severely damaging your machine, but there's some pretty major physical risks as well. Modern machine covers are plastic and they're designed to not come off easily unless you know what you're doing. They're screws that are machined directly into the machine itself, and if you remove the wrong one, the damage can be permanent. Notoriously, in many brother machines like this one, there is a screw. I can actually point it out right here. This one, which is helpfully covered in a little bit of tape. But if you were to remove that screw, it would essentially render the machine useless. There's also wiring connected to these covers that runs from the machine to the computer boards, and it's really easy to damage that wiring or the computer boards themselves if you don't know what to expect and you're not removing things in the right order and in the right way. And if you're not familiar with or taking the proper safety precautions, you're actually at risk of electrical shock. I will raise my hand here because I have made a mistake that resulted in getting a shock. And let me tell you, it's not something I'm ever gonna do again. And even if you do manage to get the covers off, getting them back on correctly so that everything functions properly is its own challenge, and it varies widely from machine to machine. I am asked all the time how I learned to do this, and the honest answer is that I'm still referencing my training materials every day. Inside Sewing Doc Academy, where I got my training, I have access to videos and PDF guides that tell me exactly which screws to remove, which tools and lubricants are needed, and anything to watch out for with that specific model. I genuinely still reference these resources every time I open up a machine I haven't worked on before, often going back to ones I have worked on before because there's just so much to remember. So if you really want to learn the right way to remove your covers safely, that's the program I will point you to. But without access to that kind of instruction, I would be extremely cautious about getting there on your own. You don't know what you're about to get into. Okay, so this one is an easy mistake to make and also an easy one to avoid once you know about it. So if you're taking off your needle plate or any of the other accessible covers, first be sure that you're using a driver that fits properly. These stubby screwdrivers are really great for removing the needle covers, which can sometimes be awkward to get into with, a full-size screwdriver. But the warning here is that when you're going to put the covers back on or put your needle plate back on, I need you to stop the moment that you feel resistance. Tighter is not better here. These screws are very easy to over tighten, and a stripped or stuck screw is a real problem. Again, I've personally made this mistake and have spent the better part of an afternoon trying to drill out an over tightened screw and then tracking down a replacement that actually fits. And finding replacement screws is a whole adventure on its own. So learn from my mistake. Hand tight is what we're going for. Once you feel the resistance, stop. Save yourself a headache. All right, so there's a lot of people who say they service their own sewing machines at home, but what they're actually doing is they're opening up the bobbin area and dusting it out, applying a few drops of oil, and that's great. That's at-home maintenance, and you absolutely should be doing that. But professional service has a completely different scope. At a service appointment, the covers come completely off. The computer boards get cleaned of lint and debris. We're going to remove that old sticky lubricant, sometimes painstakingly with picks and toothbrushes and lots of scrubbing. And then we're going to replace the old lubricant with fresh stuff and give everything a full inspection and recalibrate your tension and make sure everything is sewing back to factory standards again. So if at-home maintenance is like brushing and flossing, professional service is your dentist appointment. This is what's getting into the places you can't reach on your own and doing that preventative work that's going to keep you from needing major repairs down the road. What you're able to access from the outside is only a fraction of what is accumulating inside the machine. And the lubricant on the internal mechanisms does dry out. These are moving metal parts that rub against each other and wear down. And what could have been a $90 service appointment can very easily turn into a $300 plus repair, or worst case, a machine that can't be fixed. So how frequently do you need service, you might ask? For most people, it's going to be about every 1 to 2 years. If you sew daily, maybe run a sewing business, or if you work with a lot of high shed fabrics like fleece or minky, you're probably looking at every 6 months or even quarterly to keep your machine running optimally. For your at-home maintenance, I suggest doing that roughly every month or two, or once you start noticing lint starting to build up. All right, I hope none of this felt scary, but avoiding these mistakes is genuinely easy once you know about them. As a reminder, the free Clean Machine Toolkit is linked in the description. It's a printable step-by-step guide to walk you through all the steps in your at-home maintenance so that you can avoid these issues and keep your machine running great. And if you're a DIYer and you actually want to learn how to open your machine and service it yourself the right way, my code LISA20 will get you 20% off of any Sewing Doc Academy course. The Remove Your Covers program, which is all you need to start servicing your own plastic cover modern sewing machine, that's under $200 if you use my code, and it truly will pay for itself. As always, thanks for watching, keep on sewing, and I'll see you in the next one.